Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. If you have ever stared at AWS and thought, why on earth are there three different storage services that all sounds the same? You're not alone. Today, we are doing on AWS Storage Showdown. S3 versus EBS versus EFS. Which one is best for you and what's the difference? Alright, let's start with the big guy, Amazon S3. Also known as the Simple Storage Service. This is the oldest, most reliable AWS storage service out there. And probably the one that secretly holds half the internet. So, what is S3 exactly? In simple terms, S3 stores objects. An object is basically a file plus some extra information about it. Metadata, version info, tags, and so on. Unlike your computer's disk where files sit in folders, S3 uses buckets. Buckets are like huge folders in the cloud. So, you can name them anything you want, like my awesome cat photos or my design backups. Inside that bucket, you can toss in as many objects as you like. There is no limit. S3 can scale from one file to trillions. How S3 works? Here is the cool part. You don't need to worry about servers, hard drives, or scaling. You just upload your files using the AWS console, the CLI, or an API, and S3 automatically handles all the hardware magic behind the scene. And because it's on the web, you can access your files through a simple URL. It's like having a global storage locker that never runs out of space. Pricing and performance. Now, S3 is super cost effective. You pay only for the storage you use, and is much cheaper than EBS or EFS. But remember, S3 isn't built for speed. It's like a warehouse, massive and reliable, but not instant like a local drive. So, if your app needs lightning fast read or write, EBS might be better. But for backups, images or reports, S3 wins every time. Now let's look into security and durability. S3 promises 11 nines of durability, that is 99.999,999,999%. If you store a million files, you might lose one in about 100 years. Plus, you can secure your buckets with IAM rules, encryption, versioning, and lifecycle rules to automatically move all data to cheaper tiers like S3 Glacier. So, that's S3, your infinite, reliable, and affordable cloud locker. Next up, we will look at something faster and a bit more personal, your EC2's private hard drive, Amazon EBS. EBS, Elastic Block Store. Think of EBS as your EC2 instance personal hard drive. If your EC2 is the body, EBS is the heart that keeps the data alive. What EBS actually does? When you launch an EC2 instance, you need a place to install your operating system, your app files, your database, right? That's what EBS is for. It's basically block storage, which means it stores data in small fixed-size chunks, or blocks, just like a regular SSD or HDD in your computer. Here's the key difference between EBS and S3. S3 is remote, you access it over the internet. EBS is attached, directly connected to your EC2 instance like a physical disk. So, when your server writes to EBS, it's super fast, low latency, and perfect for things that need instant access, like running a database, an application server, or your operating system. Elasticity and persistence. Now, the elastic part of elastic block storage means you can resize your volume anytime, increase capacity, change the performance type, and take snapshots without stopping your instance. And here's the best part. Even if you stop or terminate your EC2 instance, your EBS data stays safe. It's like unplugging your hard drive, your files don't vanish just because your computer shuts down. EBS also gives you different types of performance tiers depending on what you need. And depends on the type of the performance tier you choose, you will be paying. So basically, you get to pick your speed and price, kind of like choosing between economy, business, and first class. Alright, we have met the solo player EBS, the personal hard drive for your EC2, but what happens when you have got a team of EC2 instances and they all need to see and use the same files? That is where EFS, the Elastic File System, swoops in to save the day. What is EFS? Amazon EFS is basically a shared file storage system that multiple EC2 instances can access at the same time. Think of it like a shared network drive at your office. Everyone can open, edit, or save files in the same place. You don't have to copy files between servers. Everyone just mounts the same EFS drive and boom, instant teamwork. How EFS works? EFS uses the NFS protocol that stands for Network File System. When you create an EFS, it's like creating a control folder in the cloud. Your EC2 instances, whether they are in one availability zone or multiple, can all mount it over the network and treat it just like a normal file system. The magic part is elastic, which means it automatically grows and shrinks based on how much data you store. No need to predict storage size ahead of time. You just pay for what you see. Pretty neat, right? Now let's look into performance and cost. Now here is the trade-off. EFS gives you flexibility and convenience, but is more expensive than S3 or EBS. Why? Because it's managing all the shared access, scalability, and durability behind the scenes. So you're paying the team convenience, not just storage. Alright, we have met all three heroes: S3, the cloud locker, EBS, the personal hard drive, and EFS, the shared drive. Now it's time for the ultimate question. Which one should you use? Let's do a head-to-head showdown. Round 1. Storage type. Every container stores data differently. S3 uses object storage. You store files as whole objects in buckets. EBS uses block storage, like tiny Lego blocks making up your disk. EFS uses file storage, the traditional folder and file structure you know and love. So yeah, if S3 were a closet, you would just throw your stuff in boxes. EBS would be organizing tiny compartments, and EFS, neat little folders labeled by that one coworker who color codes everything. Round 2. Access pattern. Who can access what? S3. Anyone with the right permission over the internet. EBS, only one EC2 instance at a time, like a personal diary. EFS, multiple EC2s at once, perfect for teamwork. Round 3. Performance and speed. Speed matters, especially if your app is hungry for data. EBS, fastest, low latency, great for databases or OS drives. EFS, medium, still quick but network-based. S3 slower, optimized for storage, not speed. Round 4. Cost and scalability. All three scale differently and change differently. S3, cheapest and infinitely scalable. EBS, moderate cost, limited to EC2's region. EFS, most expensive but grows and shrinks automatically. So, if your wallet is on diet, S3 is your best friend. If performance matters more, EBS or EFS will eat a bit more of your budget. What is conclusion of the battle? S3 takes the crown for cost and scalability. EBS wins the speed and performance category. EFS dominates in teamwork and shared access. The truth is, there is no single winner. It all depends on what you are building. Okay, we have done the technical showdown. Now let's wrap it all up. Which one is actually right for you? S3, object storage, best for backups, static websites, logs, media, or data lakes. EBS, block storage, best for databases, app servers, or anything running directly on EC2. EFS, file storage, best for shared applications, web servers, or machine learning workloads. So, if you are after scalability and cost, go S3. If you want speed and reliability, go EBS. And if you need teamwork and shared access, go EFS. If this video helped you finally understand AWS storage, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next one.